by a Democrat. He was named to the court by George H.W. Bush in 1990. It's one of the things that a lot of Republicans have always held against Poppy Bush, that one of his Supreme Court appointees didn't end up being conservative when he got onto the Supreme Court. But David Souter was appointed by a Republican, and he didn't end up being a conservative justice. He also didn't end up particularly liking his time on the court. As soon as President Obama got sworn in and settled in 2009, David Souter announced he was retiring to go back to his beloved New Hampshire in order to resume his pre-Supreme Court practice of declining all media requests and wanting to be left very much alone. David Souter speaks in public rarely now, and when he does, he chooses his words carefully. Because we've heard so little from him over the years, I think that the gravitas and the crackling intelligence of his speech can be kind of a surprise when you hear it. But given what happened last night, given the shock that spiked down the nation's spinal column last night and today when the Republican nominee threatened that this little election thing you've got here, this little democratic process you've got here, it's nice, it's fine, but he doesn't necessarily plan on abiding by its decision when it comes to the presidency. Given that shock that has just been administered to this system, I want you to watch this. This is David Souter. He will not make you feel better about what the Republican Party has done to the country by picking this nominee, but I think it is a comfort. It's helpful, I think, to know that there was a reason to see this whole thing coming. This was Justice David Souter in New Hampshire 4 years ago.
Is that I think some of the aspects of current American government that people on both sides find frustrating are in part a function of the inability of people to understand how government can and should function. It is a product of civic ignorance. What I worry about is a remark that Benjamin Franklin made, and Susan Leahy quoted Jefferson at the beginning about how an ignorant people can never remain a free people. Democracy cannot survive too much ignorance. Franklin, in effect, had a comment to which the Jefferson comment is a kind of an answer or a response. And you probably have heard this, but it bears repeating. Franklin was asked by someone, I think, on the streets of Philadelphia shortly after the 1787 Convention adjourned, what kind of government the Constitution would give us if it was adopted. And Franklin's famous answer was, a republic if you can keep it. You can't keep it in ignorance. I don't worry about our losing Republican government in the United States because I'm afraid of a foreign invasion. I don't worry about it because I think there is going to be a coup by the military, as has happened in some other places. What I worry about is that when problems are not addressed, people will not know who is responsible. And when the problems get bad enough, as they might do, for example, with another serious terrorist attack, as they might do with another financial meltdown, some one person will come forward and say, give me total power and I will solve this problem. That is how the Roman Republic fell. Augustus became emperor not because he arrested the Roman Senate. He became emperor because he promised that he would solve problems that were not being solved. If we know who is responsible, I have enough faith in the American people to demand performance from those responsible. If we don't know, we will stay away from the polls. We will not demand it. And the day will come when somebody will come forward and we and the government will in effect say, take the ball and run with it. Do what you have to do. That is the way democracy dies. And if something is not done to improve the level of civic knowledge, that is what you should worry about at night.
Former Supreme Court Justice David Souter, New Hampshire, speaking more than 4 years ago, being prophetic enough to now be a little spooky.